Now we go for WA08, Rachna Sansad School of Architecture, Mumbai, Krish Periwal, Sangyukta Raul, Varada Avachet, Ritika Behta. So your time starts. You can start your presentation.
Good morning, jury. Good afternoon, jury members. We understand we're the last group and it's almost 2 o'clock. So don't worry, we'll keep it light and fast in terms of the structure and the presentation. So presenting to you Ashray, the haven of modular molecules. So we started our planning by understanding the different types of users that are going to come to this hospital, which of course is the COVID patients, the caretakers and the doctors of these COVID patients, and also patients that are coming for other emergencies and other treatments other than COVID, who require regular medical facility and medical help, no matter the pandemic. So this brought us to the understanding that we require three segregated areas or segregated blocks, namely the main COVID block, which is in red, as you can see in the graphic, and the orange being our ICU block and the private room block with transition wards. So this was basically an in-between our general hospital and our COVID hospital, because this was something that could be connected to either, which we'll explain going further. And the green one is our general hospital, which functions as a regular hospital despite the pandemic and allows people to come in without being exposed to the virus to a great extent. Next, I'll explain how we went on to stack our particular modules one on top of another. We understood that the ground area would be the area that most people are going to be coming into. So that is where we have our suspect wards and we have most people coming in. And as and when the virus intensity gets higher and higher and they require to be put in positive wards or ICUs and such, the floors go higher and higher. So as you can see, the most load of the virus is on the highest floor and the least is on the ground floor. And in terms of our floor, what we've tried to do is we've tried to keep uniform modules, which aids not only in fast construction, but also gives a sort of uniform and familiar approach to the building so as not to make it too complicated for the user. Now, this one particular module that we've used for most of our wards allows us to have almost 20 patients per ward, along with a nursing station, which is the minimum requirement or ratio, as we've spoken to a couple of doctors for this information. So this allows us to have one nursing station in a ward for about 20 patients. And in the ICU areas, we have about one nursing station for about 5 patients. So that's what we've tried to manage to this thing. These modules itself, in terms of structure, have been made using a truss on the right hand side, the right bottom, as you can see. And along with this, you can also see the skin that we've used along with this, each module. This skin is a combination of glass and these louvered panels, which which also have a HEPA filter integrated in them. So this allows us to keep natural ventilation and also continuously, and when required, when we need to shut it down and use AC, it can continuously give us fresh and pure air and throw the virus load outside using the HEPA filter and manage the pressures inside and outside. Speaking of the types of modules we have, as you can see, there are 4 different, four main primary categories of the modules or blocks that we've used to create our form. One is a rectilinear and longer profile, which we have used for the pharmacy and various doctors' lounges, which we'll explain going ahead. The L-shaped wards are our main sort of unit, which house most of the beds in the emergency, being the emergency ward, transition ward, suspect wards, and positive wards. Then another important unit that we have is the ICU room, where we sort of managed to allow 2 units to share the same services, and also provided a clear facade to these ICU rooms so they can have a vision of the outside and the inside, so they can interact with people even though they're stuck inside. Then comes the service block, which is the one in our structure, which is constructed in concrete, making it like using a hybrid technology. And this sort of service block is right towards the center, which does take a considerable amount of our load also in terms of structure and supports the rest of the floors as well. Next. So now coming on to our basic site plan, the yellow area, as you can see, shows you the circulation of how you enter the building. And as soon as a user or a patient enters this building, you first come across the swabbing booths, because whether you are coming for, you have symptoms or you don't, or whether you're coming for the general hospital or like for a COVID complaint, you have to be swabbed, because that's just what the norms have become now.
क्यों क्यों नॉर्मल नॉर्मल बहु बहु नॉर्मल दे
Hello.
Others to put on mute, please. Please don't disturb.
Thank you. So yeah, so they do get swabbed at that point, and then this out here is the initial first rapid test which happens, beyond which the patients with symptoms and with COVID complaints are sent to the suspect ward, which is in our COVID general block. And the patients that have come for either using a regular diagnostics or for regular checkups or for the general part of it, or other non-COVID related complaints, can go into the general hospital. Then as you go ahead, you can see in the general hospital towards the right, which is easily accessible from both entries and to any ambulance, is our emergency ward entry, where as soon as you enter, you have a ramp that takes the patient through a stretcher directly into your emergency ward, and does not have to interact with either parts of the COVID hospital. Then towards the right hand side, you can see both the buildings. They're buildings that are delegated towards the COVID part of our hospital. And now the blue connectors, as you can see between both buildings, these are a major part of our design, which are the retractable bridges. Now, right now, when the pandemic is at such a peak or at such a high intensity, you would require both the COVID general block to be used for COVID patients as well as the ICU block to be used for these patients, because a simply amount of the cases that are there and the manner in which the pandemic is growing. However, when it does subside, which is a hopeful future, when it does, the bridge between the COVID and the ICU can be retracted, letting the COVID building isolate itself and be in complete isolation with only COVID patients there. And the general hospital and the ICU hospital can be connected and be used as one. It's connected on the first floor, as we will explain later on. And this can be used as one with functions that sort of merge into each other.
Coming to the site. So for our site, we basically picked Bandra Kurla complex in Mumbai. So that's BKC, which is one of the growing commercial districts of Bombay. So if you can see this blue color box here, that is basically our site. I'll zoom in, sorry. Yeah. So this blue color box is our site. It's a rectangular site, which is why you can see the site plan also as a rectangle. So the Bandra Kurla complex is basically a commercial district. So because of that, most of the human population and all is usually functional in the morning and the afternoon during the daytime. And that implies that it has got fixed working hours, beyond which basically there is very minimal traffic or human footfall on that particular site. So because of this, there are several advantages why it can help in our particular design. So the first one is it becomes very easy to control the number of people walking in and out, entering the building. So the transition becomes easier because at night, automatically there are no people. In the day too, because of working hours, there are certain timings itself where there'll be a lot of people. Otherwise, it can be pretty empty. The second advantage is because of no residential areas, it basically helps us to isolate our hospital and the patients from the entire high density of population where we have near the suburbs and the main city itself. So because of that, it's easier to isolate patients completely. The third reason is because of fixed corporate timings, it's easier for the transfer of material. So basically, at night time, it's very easy to ship in the materials and basically get the materials on site. So construction also gets a little easier when it's being constructed in the 100-day period. Another reason why BKC is one of the most efficient sites is because basically all the buildings around are also mainly in steel and glass. So these are the main materials that are being used in construction, which also blends in with the style of design of our hospital skin as well. And the fifth reason why the site is important is because if you can see in green on the site plan, there are many of these steel companies and factories which are already marked out. So this helps us get materials and to the site very easily. So cutting down the cost and the time of transportation, which is a huge advantage. Additionally, if you can see the main road, so we've marked out the roads in the beige color. The main road is the one out here. We've got two entries to a hospital, one from this end, one from this end. So you can see it in the site plan too. In case there's too much congestion or traffic at this main road, you can alternatively take this side road and come from the back and enter as well. Also, it's easier because you have so many commercial buildings, it wouldn't be as crowded as it's expected to be. So one main road and 3 secondary roads also there. So it reduces traffic and entry into the building, making it easier. So that's about our site.
Okay. Coming to our individual buildings, we'll start off with our main COVID block initially. On the ground floor, of course, you have your suspect wards. A suspect ward is basically a ward in which every patient is put into initially till they're confirmed to be COVID positive. So these are patients that have symptoms or but may or may not be COVID positive. And as soon as a patient is sort of verified to be positive, they're taken up to the first floor, which has your positive wards. Now, this floor also has your blood bank and your testing facility and such. This first floor is a really important floor because this is the floor that has the retractable bridge connected to it. And that bridge takes you directly to the other building that has the ICU on the same floor. So for patients that at any given point in time to be rushed into a higher medical aid facility of sorts can easily be rushed there with no issues at all. Every floor, as you can see, has this one service block attached to it, which not only has your services in vertical transportation and such, but it also has a doctor's lounge that's attached to it, which implies that every floor has a doctor's lounge at the same point. Now, this is a part where the doctors can sort of be in during the day, where they don't have to be in the wards all the time and at continuous exposure to the virus at all times. There is an antechamber that's provided, after which the doctor can sanitize and come into that area, be there, and as soon as they're on call and require to be in the particular ward or need to go for their rounds or such, can immediately exit and do their rounds in that particular floor. So this was sort of a better or more efficient way of doing it, we felt, rather than having a designated lounge somewhere for all doctors all together in some corner of the site or facility. Next, we move on to the floor above that, which again has your positive wards as well, because we required those many as compared to the suspect wards. The highest floor, however, has very different types of wards. Now, this is a ward that every medical facility requires to have. It's a ward that wherein your doctors are affected or have symptoms of the virus and need to be hospitalized or isolated in this particular area. No regular patients go here, only the doctors go here. And you also have a particular ward designated only to mothers and newborn babies, because there were so many cases we read about where mothers were sort of taken off to different wards, and there were so many issues that were faced in terms of like families being separated and all of that, just because of this sort of isolation and all. So we decided we'd have a ward for infants and babies where they did not have to be completely isolated, right next to the ward for mothers, with only a glass sort of partition in the middle. So there's some level of interaction as yet. And this floor also houses the ward for children that need special care as compared to adults above the, or humans above the age of 15, as sort of specified by a lot of doctors. Moving on to our other block, this is the ICU block, or the building in between, as we were talking about. On the first floor, as you can see, it's connected from both sides, from the general hospital and from the COVID block. And when this building is going to be used for COVID purposes, it will be connected to that block and utilized for COVID patients. And the bridge connected to the general hospital would be retracted. And vice versa, when it's being used as a general hospital, the bridge from the COVID side would be retracted. On the first floor, you have your ICU units and such. And the floor above that is where you have private rooms. This is very similar to the positive ward, where it has like one HEPA filter each bed and all the sort of one nursing station for 20 patients as such. But however, what this room or this ward sort of has is each patient has their own private room to be in, because that increasingly a lot of patients have been asking for that, especially in this city, as been informed to us by various doctors that we've spoken to. And there's a little glass spill out or a balcony of sorts that's been attached or provided to each of these rooms. So the patients may walk out, look outside, look into the greenery, look and talk to each other through the glass partition and have some sort of interaction, so as to let them keep their mental sanity while being in isolation. Because being apart from humans for more than 20 days is no joke at all. However, what we did also learn during our research was that it wasn't a very good idea to have big plants or leafy sort of greenery in and around virus infected areas, because just like your hair and nails, leaves especially, they collect a lot of this virus and it's stuck onto there much longer than it is on human touch or human skin. So of course, having large trees or leafy plants and such right in the middle of a COVID hospital is not a good idea. So of course, that has been avoided. However, we do have plantation on the boundaries of our site. On the ground floor, you will notice we have something called a transition ward. Now, this is a ward where after continuous treatment in an ICU or a private room, a patient is then sent to something called a transition ward, where they're actually now COVID negative and they have been sort of cured of the virus, but they need to be in constant observation for a while before they're discharged and allowed to step out home. This is a ward that's very essential when you're treating a patient that has like very intense symptoms or very intense conditions, post-treatment sort of session that they require. Another important thing that we have in both our ICU block and COVID block is something called the glass box. Now, this glass, what we like to call the glass box, is an area where relatives can enter into after being passed through an antechamber and sanitization unit. And then through a glass partition, they're allowed to interact and talk to the COVID patients or any patient admitted in the hospital, who are allowed to walk into the courtyard in the center according to allotted times and communicate with each other as per the doctor's discretion. Next. Okay, now this is the general block or the general hospital as it is. On the ground floor, we have our emergency ward where patients with any accidents or emergency services apart from COVID related things can come into immediately without entering any part of the COVID hospital and being in a sort of safe corridor. This also has your operation theaters and such, because that is something that of course we need to keep very close to our emergency wards. And it also has a pharmacy that's open to use to the patients out there. On the upper floor above that, we have a doctor's lounge and most of our admin area. This is where we have our offices. Okay, this is where we have our offices for the patients. The back offices where they keep the records of all of the patients, where they do a lot of the testing, where we have our pathological labs and such. On the floor above that, we have a library of sorts that we've created, because one important part that we wanted to remember about this is that the COVID hospital is not something we intend to keep permanent. The COVID part of it is something that we're very hopeful is going to be a temporary situation. So when this does begin to function as a general hospital, this was a sort of area that is open to public, and public can come up and utilize this sort of an area, and that sort of fear or that stigma against being in a hospital is sort of relieved. And this sort of a function, we thought if we introduce that, also makes people feel a lot more comfortable and lighter about the idea of going to a hospital. So that trust becomes a little more like entering into this sort of a hospital. And this entire green patch that we have, if you can see in our site plan, if you could just in the site plan.
It's not going behind.
Okay, anyways.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
So in a site plan, what we've also tried to integrate is that left-hand side, this entire green expanse is something that this area was being utilized for exhibitions and other purposes at a given point in time, right? So this sort of an area is something that we did want to give back and continue to utilize for such sort of functions when it was okay, when it was distanced enough, and when it was okay after the pandemic. And this, in the meantime, is also being used as something that we're proposing over here is for it to be used as a helipad of sorts, because a helipad ambulance is something that we think is very like imperative and needs to be finally introduced over here eventually in our city and our country. And that is something that would be extremely helpful in terms of a COVID situation and in terms of transporting patients and isolating them.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah.
So as correctly mentioned by Ritika, these are a couple of sections which we have shown. So how our design would actually be looking in section. And there are a couple of elements which we would like to specifically identify. So if you can see this one here, the retractable bridge. So as she mentioned, there are two buildings that will be connected. So at the moment when there is a lot of COVID influx and all, and then there are patients who are there in the COVID ward, who are in the positive ward or in the suspect ward. And in case they suddenly reach an alarming state where they need to be shifted into an ICU or into a private chamber, and you do not want to use the ramp and go all the way around or go straight down, go to the next building, come back on top. So to avoid all of this movement and save on time, there's this retractable bridge which allows you to directly transfer from one building to the next. So that's the advantage of the retractable bridge. In addition to that, the bridge connecting the ICU block and the general block. So the two of them, ICU block, where usually you need some samples and all that need to be tested, can be taken into the general block where we've got our radiology labs and other laboratories where instantaneously they can be shifted for checking and all, rather than going all the way around and saving the ease of transition and movement. So we've got ramps externally which are used, which are the main desired way of transitioning through the space. So in addition to that, we've also got this retractable bridge as one of our features. The second one is this cafeteria that we can see out here. So there is a cafeteria in our design as well, which also enables people from outside who are normal people to come into this particular, like normal people who are not contagious with the disease, who can come in basically to this particular design, part of the design. So since it's a commercial complex, we realize that there will be a lot of people who search for these restaurants and cafes in their break times and all. So we can introduce them along with the distances properly measured for safety to prevent the transmission of the disease. We've positioned our cafeteria far away from the 3 blocks in the design, as we can see here. And they also basically, so one thing that COVID basically prevents us from doing is coming in contact with people. You do not have too many people coming close to each other. You want to tend to keep people away who are positive or so. So in fact, if you're a patient on your particular mind, you have a thing where you need to stay away from people, and then you get this sort of isolation. So you know that you're being away from all human contact and all. So one thing which we thought we can introduce into our design is this movement into the particular site. So as you can see from all these glass windows and all, you can see through and you will be able to see a lot of movement into the site. Even if people coming into the cafeteria, even the rest of the movement, and also you have this human contact which is established to this cafeteria that is designed. The third part is this swabbing booth. So any person coming into the particular COVID hospital has to be tested before they go into the hospital. So in our design, since we're also providing a non-COVID block, which is the general hospital, which usually people do not mix with the COVID because you usually have, and in case I want to go to be treated into a hospital or so and I've not got COVID, I would not want to go into a hospital. That's one of the major reasons which people tend to avoid it. We are trying to introduce an entire general block into our hospital, bringing people closer to the COVID patients as well. But even though you're completely at a distance. So if I am thinking about coming to a hospital, I need to be tested into the swabbing booth before I go into the particular hospital, because if I am COVID positive, I will be transmitting the disease to all the people who are in the non-COVID block. So that's why you test yourself before getting into the site. Same case with the people entering into the cafeteria. They get themselves tested at the swabbing booth and then they go. So if you can see in our site plan, as we had shown, there are these testing booths as you enter, including in the section you can see. So when you enter and you have 3 out here, and you have 3 even out here when you come in through this entrance out here. So that's about the swabbing booth. And the fourth major feature is this glass box that we've designed. So another thing which we've considered is the mentality of users who are not positive. So the family members and all, people who are not directly into the particular COVID pandemic immediately. So the people who are close to them. So they can come into this particular glass box and through the glass be in contact with the people who are either in the transition ward or in the suspect ward. So not the patients who are entirely positive, the ones who are either suspected to be positive or the ones who are done, and then you have to be into this 14-day transition period where they stay for 14 days before they come out. So this is the particular glass box that enables the relatives and other family members to basically come in through and have an interaction with their relatives or whoever is positive through this glass box. So that is one large glass box which we provided out here, and there are 2 of them. So one in the ICU ward, which takes you to the transition ward, and the other one is in the COVID block, which takes you towards the patients in the suspect ward. So that's how we've planned it too. Going ahead, we've got a residential block.
So the 4th block in this design is the residential block. At times, doctors as well as nurses are required to be on call, and for the very reason we have provided on-site resident accommodation for those people. It's a very simple plan with a grid of 4x4 where 2 residential modules are fit into these grids. We have tried to stick to standard structural members. For example, we have used box sections of 300 by 300 meters here, so as to increase the speed of the construction rather than wasting the time in designing newer sections, because it will increase the time of fabrication as well as which will eventually increase the time of construction and then the cost. So this module is very simple. The floor plan staggers as we go up. So the ground floor plan has the modules which are at the edge, which are flushed at the edge, whereas on the top floor, the modules are staggered inside. This creates balconies and courtyards on either sides of the design. We've even though we have staggered the blocks, we have tried to make sure that the toilet cores, the service cores, remain one below the other. So it's a very simple module. It's a 1-room module where doctors are supposed to stay for a day or a 2 or maximum a week. So yeah, next slide. So talking about the details. So the very first detail is the truss box, the module which we are, which is a very basic cell of the entire design. So we have used Virendil trusses so as to carry the so as to have a clear floor movement. So what we tried to incorporate into our design was an aspect of flexibility, where the interior spaces could be flexible, and for the very same reason, in order to avoid columns and other such structural members coming in between, disturbing the flow and the expansion. So if we have to expand a wall, or if we have to expand certain room, we need a flexible floor space. And for the very same reason, we have made these truss box or modules. We have tried to stick to standard structural members. So here we have used the main column which supports the trusses is the main column which supports the beams which support the trusses is made of box section which is around 1 meter wide. These trusses are then supported. These trusses then support the slabs, hollow core slabs, in which services can be incorporated, and a false ceiling finish is given right below the place where the services are. So this is the truss box. Then moving on to the glass box details, we have used spider glass joinery for having transparency. Then for the ramp details, for the ramp details, again, we have tried to stick to standard structural members. We have used, so from the columns of the module, one I section comes out, which is then supported by a cut T section. So that is one of the very few parts where we have fabricated we have cut a T section into a sloping profile so as to support the ramp. And that's how the ramp is being used. The next detail is the hollow core slab of the residential block. It is designed in the similar manner as to that of the COVID blocks and the hospital. So yeah, next slide. So talking about the construction timeline, since the advent of industrial revolution, steel has been incorporated into construction industry for a numerous amount of reasons. While materials such as stone, RCC, timber, etc. are also used for construction, steel offers its own set of advantages, making it as a material bound to outlive all the rest for years to come. So basic advantages of steel are it's available in diverse range and colors and textures and shapes, and it's highly durable and malleable, and it spans longer distances. So what we have tried to do here is to create a flexible container in which interior spaces could be rearranged at the will, and exterior, and you can see these structural elements on the exterior as well, so that the functionality of the building is seen also on the exteriors. So explaining the construction timeline, firstly, a raft foundation is laid onto the site. Now, why raft foundation? So it is capable of taking higher loads, and in case where the soil bearing capacity is less, raft foundations are advisable. The duration required for this is around 15 days to lay the foundation and the plinth. The second step is erecting the box section columns to support and occupy the modules which are later added on. It will take around 5 days after the foundation is laid. Then the third step involves assembling the modules. Like we mentioned, there are steel factories located nearby. So these modules will be assembled on site, and it is easy to transport them from the steel factories since they are nearby. And after assembling single modules on site, which are the longer length of the L is 22 meters, while the depth is 8 meters. So these modules are then anchored onto the foundation beams, and thus the ground floor is completed. So 15 days are required to assemble modules on one floor after the foundation is laid. At the same time, simultaneously, the modules of other floors will also be made. So the construction will get faster. Step 4 involves laying the beams on the exterior and the interior periphery as well as within the modules. The duration of the same is 3 to 4 days after the modules are laid for one particular floor. Now, when one floor is laid along with a slab on it, the second, third, and the fourth floors are then added on. And as and when the hospital expands vertically, when it comes to the structural members, when the structural members are being added on to the top floors, the interiors and the finishings of the lower floors could be carried out simultaneously. Thus, we have tried to fit the design within, thus we have tried to fit the construction of this design into 100 days. And like we mentioned, this is not exact. So we have tried to, so these modules are not just 4-floor high. The structure could be expanded as and when required. And our main intention was that these modules could be used anywhere around in any site, and could be expanded and contracted as in how the demand is at the given particular time. So also another important aspect of having a flexible floor space, a column-free floor space, was that if in future, apart from using this building as a COVID hospital or any general hospital, if this building needs to repurpose into some another kind of building, then the people will have the flexibility to change the interiors of the building and convert it into some sort of another building. So this was about the construction timeline. The load transfer diagram then explains about which members are going to take the load. The normal hierarchy is the load from the roof then is transferred to the beams. The beams transfer it to the weir and deal trusses, which take the load of the beams as well as the slab above, and it goes below where the final load is taken by the foundations. So like we said, we have ramps on the exterior, So throughout the building, movement is celebrated because during the pandemic, the world had stopped, and to contrast it, we wanted to celebrate movement. So we have introduced ramps and the retractable bridges and the glass box as well. So yeah, apart from the construction advantages which steel offers, like quicker construction, durability, and strength, we have tried to make use of the functional aspects of steel, like flexibility of spaces and further adaptive reuse if it is required in future. So yeah, next slide.
So coming to an end to the presentation, so I would just like to briefly explain the types of users that we basically have into our design. If you can see in this particular comic strip that we have designed. So for example, there are various users that can actually use our design. So the first one, let's take into the consideration the red box. So what if there is a patient who basically, if he gets some sort of symptoms for COVID, but doesn't know whether it's positive or negative. So what does that patient do? He comes into the hospital, she comes into the hospital, she gets herself tested at our swabbing booth. She stays in the suspect ward first. Once she knows that she is negative, she's got her result from the doctor, she's negative, then what does she do? She basically is then diverted to the non-COVID block or the general block, where she is then treated for further diagnosis because she knows that there is something wrong, but it is not COVID. So that's the first type of user who basically use this space from COVID block to then non-COVID block. The second type of user is basically doctors into our design. So if we take into consideration one of our doctors, he comes into the hospital, he gets himself ready, and then of course he has to treat patients day in, day out. He's got his doctor's lounge where he basically gathers with his other friends and can wait for a while. He again visits patients. This is this boring duty of the doctor again and again. So what is there for him to have his fun? So we've provided these certain recreational spots even for doctors. So they come into this first anteroom where they where they disinfect themselves. They go into the next anteroom where they change their clothes once again, and then they come into the recreational room where they can basically play with billiards or chess or any other game that we've provided. And of course, coming back to their duty, then at the end of the day, where they go to get their rest is basically their residential block. So we've shown one image of the residential block as well, where they can take their rest. And of course, showing the same image again, because the same cycle repeats again and again, and they come back to their duty the next day. The third type of user is basically a patient who's again got symptoms, but wants to test himself, whether he's positive or negative. So he comes into the COVID hospital, he gets himself tested at the swabbing booth, and he goes to the suspect ward. If he's detected positive, like he is, he goes into one of the positive wards that is there on a higher floor. Now, one added advantage for our design is we've designed these modules. So the suspect ward and the positive ward have identical modules, the L-shaped modules that we had shown you. So if there are a number of cases which are expected to be more, so like you don't know, they've been tested suddenly and there are too many patients that are being suspected. So as planned, we had 4 suspect wards and 4 positive wards. In case there are too many suspected patients, then what we do is we make one of the positive wards into a suspect ward. So we have maybe 5 suspect wards and 3 positive wards. So basically they're interconvertible, and vice versa in case the positive patients are more than the suspect patients. So this patient is positive, but in case his situations are, and he's being treated into his ward itself, in case suddenly his situation gets a little critical, and on the spot he needs to be transferred into the ICU. So what the doctor says is he does the test, and through the bridge they come into the ICU block, which is the next building. He's in his ICU block out here, he's being treated out here, and then he's being treated properly into the ICU block itself. Now, what if there is another patient who basically is positive and she's into this particular hospital, but she does not want to be in the positive ward with all the other sorts of chambers, all the other sorts of patients who are positive as well. So what does she do? She comes into the hospital, one of the doctor guides her to the positive ward. There is another special provision of the isolated positive wards, which are the private rooms where they can basically come. So they have this sort of balcony as well, where they can interact with the patients who are in the next private ward as well. So in case there's a family of maybe 2 or 3 or 4 and they all are in positive isolated wards, they can interact through this particular glass box as well, which is the glass balcony. So this is this bio realm that is created for them, where they're still exposed to the outside because they can get the view of the exterior, they can be in contact with others, even though they're positive, which is exactly what COVID prevents us from doing, but we've done it in a safe manner. And the last category of patient, for example, one of us, in case we are all negative and we're not showing any symptoms, but in case I fall and get hurt and I want to go to the hospital, what any of us would normally try to do is try to cure it ourselves at home, prevent going to a hospital because of the number of cases that are suddenly increasing. But what if I'm supposed to go to a hospital? I'll be panicking because I don't want to go into a COVID hospital. So what we've done in our design is provided the third non-COVID block. So that's where the general hospital comes in. It's being distanced properly from the COVID blocks. The entry can be separate, so you come in from the back as well. So you're away from the patients. I get myself tested here and then I go straight after being tested into the swabbing booth, then I'm treated properly in the hospital itself. So there are many cabins for treatment as well. So this is what the class of users in our particular design is. So we're catering to a wide range of users, taking into consideration all the possibilities that are there. So one specific thing that I wanted to speak about was our site. So since we've picked BKC as our site and we've planned these 3 simple buildings which are connected by retractable bridges and a 4th separate isolated building, which is the residential block. One added advantage of our design is we can reuse this design like a module. The entire design can serve as a module and it can be placed anywhere in this particular country. So wherever we want to design our particular hospital, this can serve as a module and it can be used everywhere all along. And the last point also I wanted to mention is for future expansion. So since our hospital provides a COVID block, an ICU transition block and a non-COVID block, we're also looking at a positive future. So we're looking forward to a place where basically we can visit this hospital will still function even after the whole COVID scenario is done. So maybe after 5-6 years, in case the whole COVID is taken care of, then we can still have maybe one block as the COVID block in case COVID still exists. The other 2 blocks can become the general hospital. Or in case COVID is completely taken care of, it can still function as a general hospital. So we're not basically eliminating the purpose of this building after a couple of years as well. So that's what we've taken into consideration. And with that, we come to an end of our design. So we'll just quickly show through our show in our walkthrough. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
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 Okay. Thank you.
There is no commentary yet.
Krish,
So somebody can explain it if there is no audio.
Yes, so this is the general block, like we mentioned, which is located right near the entrance, so that people who don't have COVID can come. Then these are the remaining COVID and ICU blocks, which are not positioned near the entry, so as to keep the common public away. And they can be accessed only by the ambulance routes, since it is mandatory to carry a COVID patient to hospital via ambulances strictly, and personal cars of patients are at least not allowed to enter the hospital once a patient is admitted. So yeah. So this is the pharmacy, which is positioned on the ground floor of the general block. So this retractable bridge takes you to which is taking patients and doctors to the COVID block. So there's a cafeteria, like we mentioned. This is the library where only doctors are allowed to come. This is the COVID block, which is entered through the as shown, is entered through a retractable bridge. It also has a separate entry, obviously. This is the courtyard and the service core where the stairs and other fire emergency equipments are located. This is the transition ward, which can be later repurposed into a COVID ward as and when the necessity arises. This is the glass box that patients are supposed to come at restricted time intervals. The ICU block. So ICU block has transition wards below as well for whenever there's necessity, whenever the patients are increasing. On the top floors, private wards and ICU wards where only one patient is allowed per one room are. So those are ICU modules are located in this block. So this is the doctor's residence, the spill out area and the corridor. This is the doctor's room, which has a view of the hospital. So concluding our project motive with a line, we have centered users at our very heart of our design. So this is the construction timeline, how the modules are constructed and placed onto the site. So concluding the design motive, we have placed the user at the center of our design, and irrespective of whether or not the 100-day timeline was mentioned or not, our very first response to the design was to look at quicker constructions, because situations like pandemics require immediate response rather than delving into fanciful possibilities. So we have tried, so like I mentioned, we have tried to stick to less fabricated members, and we have tried to stick to a very modular plan with a future, with a hindsight of future, that it could be expanded vertically and could be positioned anywhere along in the country. And so yeah, it also follows the Indian standards of construction. Yes.
I hope you have finished your presentation.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, then over to juries. Dr. Deshmukh, please.
Yeah. Quite an elaborate presentation. Kritika, Varda, Ashraya. I like your new concept of a retractable bridge. Then also you mentioned about the less number of trees, because trees can have some adverse effect on the infection. Another interesting thing in your design was the helipad, because that is what you look at the future, and probably that is how you get connected with serious patients quickly, bring them back to the hospital. So I think that is a necessity, and that necessity will come in the future hospitals. So it's a well thought of idea. Also the idea of glass box, where you can be separated from the virus point of view, but at the same time you are near to each other. You can always look at each other, you can have a talk with each other, plus and at the same time being separated. So that's a very good idea. Hollow core slab you have used as a concept of your structural components, but you have not mentioned whether that slab is of steel or the slab is of concrete.
Sir,
You
the
just
slab
mentioned
concrete.
hollow
In the date,
concrete.
we've mentioned that it's a hollow core concrete slab.
Okay, hollow core concrete slab. That's okay. Perfectly all right. Only I would like to mention here that when your idea of retractable bridge at two places is well taken, but the retractable bridge cannot be a cantilevered retractable bridge. It has to have some supports. It has to have some wheels so that it can be extended to the other end on the wheels, which is very difficult to have that kind of Caesar-like opening and closing device for this bridge, or retracting and extending device for the bridge. That can go cantilever. It will not go cantilever. It will just drop down, or it will just lower at some point. So to have the other end appropriately aligned, it has to have wheels. So I think that point need to be taken care of when you actually put forth this idea. So these are some of my observations. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Sarkar.
This entry is very well thought of, and many innovative ideas have been transformed. Can you show the plan, please?
Yes.
Yes, sir, sure. 1 second.
Yes. Yes, site plan. Now, the point is that the courtyard, both the courtyards are linked. So, can you just explain a little bit of where your air conditioning plants are being placed and how they are being, they are serving that building. If, are they isolated units or you have a plant?
There will be a plant which will be placed in the service core, which is towards the center of each of the buildings. And certain parts, such as the ICU and the private rooms, will be air conditioned. And the private rooms, which are on the higher floors in the COVID building, those will have their isolated units, because like each of the rooms will have its one unit. However, the wards will have a common unit, where it will be placed in the service block itself. However, the wards, as far as possible, we're going to keep them naturally ventilated. Only when it's required will the air conditioning and HEPA filter be functioning. So our skin itself has an louvers which open and close to allow for this natural ventilation as well, which opens out onto the outside and towards the courtyard side. So in most of our like common wards, and like as far as possible, we've maintained a naturally ventilated area. However, the particular areas such as private rooms and ICUs, which need to be air conditioned, have their respective units on that.
Thank you very much. No more questions.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Bhattacharya, please.
A few points just took my attention. Somewhere you told about some Fierendal gutter. What was that?
So I think what we were trying to explain was the truss that we were using for our modules.
For that truss, larger dip lattice girder, you were calling the Fierendal girder.
I guess that was a mistake on our part, so we didn't mean to call it a
No, it's okay. It's okay. Okay. Achha. I could not very clearly
It's
catch
a combination of Vierendeel girders and trusses so as to take the bending stresses. So, and yeah.
That is a good idea, and it will save a lot of cost.
So also we wanted column-free spaces because our width is also 22 meters by 8 meters, and since we wanted flexibility, we thought of providing the girders on the side.
And why you wanted this retractable bridge to be retractable? Can you just explain me? I could not catch it.
So that when we want two buildings to function simultaneously together, such as like the ICU building or a COVID building, that bridge can be open and it can be used as one particular area, like completely for the COVID patients. However, in the future, when we're going to use only one building for COVID, and we want to utilize the ICU block along with the general hospital, we can retract that bridge from the COVID part, segregating it and isolating it, and allow it to function with the general hospital itself, like only. So we restrict the movement into the other building.
And then I would say, as Dr. Deshmukh was speaking, Euro bridge type of thing would be very suitable for your purpose. Which is used in airports. Okay, because to design such a retractable girder, the deflection point of view in such a cantilever and the equipment required to make it will be very huge. So Euro bridge can be very easily adoptable thing. I would say this is a very practical design, and I like this air taxi possible things for airlifting critical passengers, patients. So that is a very new idea. And at the heart of the city, at the BKC, you are building a hospital. That is also some sort of a novelty. So that also you have thought differently.
Adding on to the Vierendeel truss, so our inspiration was the bridges, the truss bridges which we see, which span on longer distances with lesser support. So that was
from
what
structural point of view also.
Yeah.
For that reason, I told that is a good and novel idea which you are thinking, and it may save also on the cost point of view. Not only because you will be saving a lot of weight, and you can even go in for prefabrication. So that is a good point. Otherwise, it's a very practical design. I appreciate that point.
Thank Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
If you have no question, I would ask Ma'am Dasgupta.
Yes, I echo the words of Dr. Deshmukh and other jurors. I don't have much to say anything here, but I liked your, presentation, the way you have given importance to the functionality. Of course, you have given that, and also the justification why you have chosen that site. So the steel factories are near about, and so you can procure steel. That is, in our green, if you build a green building, green construction, then that is very also one point which we stress upon. Anyway, so this is a fact, and also I like your courtyard type of planning. And the fact that that retractable bridge that they were talking about, that after it's temporary, COVID is temporary. So after, if you don't use it, if you don't consider it as a COVID hospital, that can be, connected to the general hospital. But in case if there is COVID, and also if it wants to use as, general hospital, so what do you do then? Like one ICU won't be sufficient for, that's what I'm saying.
So we do have OTs and also to an extent emergency areas and an ICU sort of a provision that can be provided in the general hospital as well, if we require some amount of it in the general hospital as well. For now, in these 100 days, we focused more on the COVID part of it, which is why we have most of the facilities and modules for the ICU block and the COVID building for now. However, there is always a provision of multiplying those modules in that same configuration in the general hospital as well.
So like if you look at the site plan, towards the left side of the plan, we have empty space so that if need arises and if COVID rapidly increases, it could be expanded. Yes, ma'am.
Fine. It's a nice presentation. Ritika, Krish, and Varada and team, nice presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, and thank you, team WS08 for your presentation.